got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Because, remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
They shouldn't have given you ashy blokes youth.
Cursed be the ground, for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
All right. You ashy, basically you dirty foot Jose's, you ashy Jeffries, and you dusty Jermaines back in the house, okay? Punching the clock on Monday. It was a long session yesterday on my Patreon, okay? Almost 5 hours. And got to get the old bones up and go ahead and hit that clock. So that's what I'm doing right now. So it should be interesting because this was sent to me by a brother on Telegram, and they repeat a lot of things, but just put it a different way. My bots are saying they're listening, they're dialing in. I'm glad to know that you're listening. Okay, all right, but we'll go ahead and get busy. Now, my phone has not rung all day. Okay, my phone, all day my phone has not rung once. It's the first time my phone has rung all day, right as I'm starting the show. The Prince is first. Okay, Paul is batting second. Free Agent is batting third. Inspired Truth got the cleanup spot. Salute. My Waffle House King, what's going on? Supreme Pivot. Lucy Crawford, what's going on? Tao, what's going on? Shalom. Or how to stop a charging bear. The easiest way, throw a sacrificial person in front of you. Okay. let the bear eat him instead. What's up, Adric? AL, what's going on? Navone, Kennard, Barry. I'm listening. LAXT, what's happening? Shawnee, what's going on? Detro. Kevin, what's up? Rise Film, what's going on? What kind of films do you make? Babu, what's going on? Horitz, what's happening? Gundam, what's going on? Levon, I don't think I've ever seen you before. Watching from Rollins, Wyoming. Or do black people actually live in Wyoming? I've ever heard of outside somebody going to school. Never heard of anybody a black person living in Wyoming. LAXT is 50 hours this week. I heard, oh, okay. Okay, and that's without a family. Should have a little money stacked. Shannon Green, what's going on? Barry Little, what's up? Fernando's, what's going on? Carl? B-Row, Joe's, Xander, what's going on? Captain Obvious, what's going on? Michael, what's going on? StreamYards dropped me last night. Good behind the wall, though. Yeah, it's long, man. It's long slog. But it was. When Dr. Marifa shows up, it's always good. The Black Toxic, what's going on? Maestro, what's happening? Ricky, what's happening? Don Calypso, happy French Revolution Day, my ninjas. Vive la France, putain de bordel, de merde. The merde? Okay. I have no idea what that means, but my French sucks, man. I haven't done fucking French since I was like 17. Snowman, what's up? Oh, you made it to the bullpen? Okay. You got to get out there and warm up, man. Get your warm-up tosses in. Charles, what's up? Forever blessed. Yeah, that was him singing a Michael Jackson song. Yep. That was him. Let's see. All right, Barry. Dr. Els, what's going on? Are you gonna have Jeff on one day, Dr. L? J Mar, what's up? Tunnel Runner, what's up? Tunnel Runner and Snowman got their reparations. Willie R, what's going on? Kennard? Let's see. Oh, okay. No, see. Oh, here for work. Okay. All right. Now, are you in the? Are you doing the oil drilling, the shale mining? Because I know when black folks go up there to Wyoming, they're into oil. Black males, what's happening? Big Mo. Oh, you've been here before. Okay. Okay. All right. Stringtown. Okay. Dusty Hotep, what's happening? I make black independent films, working on a romantic horror. Our first feature. Okay. Okay. If you need a plug for me, let me know. Because sometimes, with the manosphere, sometimes people want to be attached, sometimes people don't. But if you need a plug, let me know. Afro Merchant, what's going on? Kevin, elite pedestrian tax. Okay, cool. Appreciate you. Is it ABZ or ABS? I don't know which one is it. What's going on? J Money, what's happening? Forever blessed, what's going on? Kareem, what's going on, Kareem? Let's see. Everyone keeps asking me about him. I reached out to him. I know he saw the message and he never responded. I'd love to though. Yeah, I think I think there's money involved in this. I don't have any sense of it, but um, his profile seems a bit manicured. That's all I'll say. Michael Watson, what's going on? Anyhow, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, this was sent to me. I tell you, my phone has not rung all day, and this is the first time doing the show. And I forgot to silence it before I came on. Anyhow, okay, this is sent to me, right? Very interesting because I've heard of the Queen's Code, okay, written by a white woman. Women read this shit all the time, okay, but I had never heard her before, and this was sent to me by a brother in the Telegram. And so, yeah, let me go ahead and listen to it because it says why women aren't accountable, featuring Allison and Dr. Robert Glover. So I'm listening to it, and a lot of shit she says matches a lot of stuff that I've read, that I've encountered about women, okay, and their feelings and and the emotional labor that you have to do to keep them sane, okay. And the thing is, she kind of explains why, and I've had this. I've had that theory, the same kind of feeling, not necessarily a theory about why women do that. They do it. I know black women do it because they're afraid of you. Okay, and she's echoing some of the same sentiment. But this is Allison Armstrong. She probably doesn't need your, because she's an author. She probably doesn't need your like, but give it to her anyway because she's one of the few white women who will actually tell the truth. Okay. Black women and white women do have the same uncture, but they have different training. Okay, and what white women do, as far as passive aggressive wise, right? Black women in America do on steroids. So a lot of the sign language, even she says it's projection. Okay. So a lot of that mean behavior, that mean attitude and stuff like that, okay, it's the same, comes from the same root, but thing is, because of the culture, the outcomes are different. Whereas white women are emotionally abusive to their men, right? For the most part, passive aggressively, okay? Black women are emotionally and physically abusive to their men. So we get a double tap. And it all comes from the same root. It's called control. Okay. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get into it. I'll speed it up just a bit. And so all 1.25. All right. And see if this resonates with you.
Not the worst in men. Can I swear? Is it okay to swear?
God damn it, go ahead.
Well, if I'm not bringing out the worst in men, then they are in fact assholes. And if this is who men were, then I was doomed. So the idea that I was bringing out the worst in them, I came to think of it as that my attitude was like being surprised. Like if someone kicks a dog and the dog bites, or kicks a dog and the dog runs away, and they think, that dog's an asshole. That is how women interact with men.
Yeah, they do. They're abusive. And then when they get the reaction, that's rightfully a rightful reaction, they're shocked and surprised. Like such as in social media, right? Black women can say the ugliest, most disrespectful things toward their men, to black men, right? And they think it's okay. And then when black men respond in kind, we hate women, right? We're assholes. You don't like your mama. You hate women. You don't get no pussy, whatever, right? In other words, because they provoked you because they poked the bear and the bear bit them, okay, that bear's an asshole because I should have been able to poke you without you biting me.
It's not popular to defend men nowadays, and it's not popular to hold women accountable for their behavior. And well, let me just ask you, how do you think we got to this place where we've been for some time, where everything is the man's fault and nothing's ever the woman's fault?
What do we say, folks? And this is a white man. Say it again, white boy. What do we say? What do we say? All the time, right?
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done.
Came out of an old white man's mouth, right? For all you Negroes in the back.
What's up, boss? You believe that? You hold on. Oh no. Do you believe that? Huh? Oh no. Ah! Oh no. Come on. Do you believe?
Okay. Do you believe now?
Because I'd say probably for the last 20 years, because No More Mr. Nice Guy's been out about 25 years, people have been saying, do you know who Alison Armstrong is? And it's funny, when they mention you, it's this in reverence, right? Almost like you are this goddess. And so because she's a woman teaching a lot of the same things that you're teaching, and she's teaching them to women. And so I've had your books in my Kindle for years. And when you agreed to come on the call, I thought, okay, I'm gonna read them now. And I've been reading them, and I've been loving them. And I don't know that we're like just mirror images of each other, but we both teach, you're teaching women, I'm teaching men. Basically, take responsibility for your experience in life, and let's quit blaming this on other people. And so I'm really loving reading your material, hearing these things about you, about how you feel about men and women, their interaction. So how back in 1991 did you get interested in these kind? What got you looking at this kind of stuff?
But one of the reasons I said yes to doing this now is because I'm working on the sequel to the Queen's Code. And which I always knew there would be a sequel, but to my great surprise, the sequel is the King's Code.
Oh yeah.
It's blowing my mind. So have you read the Queen's Code yet?
I haven't completed it. I did read your other book about men. What's the name of it? You tell us.
Well, so we have Making Sense of Men.
That's the one I've read. I've completely read that one.
Okay, that's the only nonfiction book I've ever published. And I specifically published it to get through to Oprah Winfrey, who for some reason, it doesn't matter how many people tell her about me, she can't remember being told about me. So
see, everybody tells me about you, and I remember that. So Oprah, so you wrote a nonfiction book just to get on Oprah?
Just to get her attention, because because Oprah's organized around empowering women. And so this book was was specifically in that way, called Making Sense of Men,
Right.
A Woman's Guide to a Lifetime of Love, Care, and Attention from All Men. And that came after we had published.
Because I've heard, I've seen, you know, because you go through Amazon and stuff like that, and you see the books, but you never read them because, yeah, you know, Queen's Code, it's a fiction book. I don't want to read that shit. So, but now I'm curious.
Keys to the Kingdom, which Keys to the Kingdom is literally the prequel, like Star Wars. It's the prequel to the Queen's Code. The Queen's Code was the book I realized I needed to write in 1992 because I was just blown away by what I'd learned about men, and that was completely different than what I was taught or that I saw everywhere in our culture.
Right.
And I had to get the word out. And so how come I ask is because what happens in the first chapter of the Queen's Code,
I have read that.
Okay, that happened to me. It was
the frog farmer thing.
The frog farmer. My colleague made this announcement in a landmark seminar, just like challenging why are men wonderful in the beginning and then turn into sports watching, pizza eating, beer belching, couch slugs. Why is that? She made that challenge. And the landmark trainer, I was watching very closely. She's standing right next to me, and I expected him to get defensive, and instead he leaned into it. He loved that question. And he was the one that sauntered up to her, purposely checked her out in as antagonized a way as he possibly could, because she led with sexuality. And he said, "Oh, I see. You're a frog farmer." And there's like gasps around the room. There are about 200 people there. And she's like, "Oh, what?" And then he explained, some women turn frogs into princes. You, my dear, turn princes into frogs.
Turn princes, okay, a frog farmer, okay. Yeah, you try to tear men down. Most black women do that, okay? Most black women do that. Most black women try to turn princes into frogs.
And then he literally just like shrugged his shoulders and turned around. She stuck her tongue out at him.
That's very mature feminine behavior.
Very mature. Yeah. And this is a woman that I worked with. She worked part-time. She didn't make very much money. And when she said she was broke, and I said, do you need help? Do you need money? And she said, "Oh no, I'll just date a lot."
Well, it's not okay. It's not really quiet quitting. Okay. What it is adjusting to your environment. Okay. If you're in a family environment, okay, I've never been married, okay, I had to spend 3 years with a woman and kids, and there's only so much time in the day, especially if you're trying to support a family working 55, 60 hours a week, and then you got 2 small ones at home, and anything you do for yourself on the outside takes away from either earning money or being with your family. And so you adapt. Okay, I can't do what I used to do that used to give me contentment and make me happy. What else can I do that's here where I can actually be here, be present with the family, and me to actually be content? And watching sports, watching TV, eating pizza, whatever it is, sitting on the couch. Okay, guess what? 90% of being with your family is just showing up. They don't really want you talking to them that much. The thing is, you just being there. Okay, so how do you go from a freewheeling guy that's like when I was younger, man, I spent maybe 3 hours at home, okay, at best, okay, and most of that was sleep 4 hours a day, and you're gone the rest of the day. Can't do that with a family. So it's not quiet quitting. It's called adaptation.
What? And she literally would have a breakfast date, a lunch date, and a dinner date. She just used dating to fill in for her budget. And it was, oh my gosh. And I had been separated, was divorcing from my husband. I had a 2.5-year-old son, but my life flashed before my eyes when
how do you have a 2.5-year-old son and get a divorce from your husband? It makes no sense.
He said that. And I saw all these frogs with little human heads, and they were all my 10-day to 2-week ex-boyfriends and my ex-husband and the relationship that I just jettisoned. And I just knew it was true that I was turning princes into frogs. And I was elated. I was so excited because I'd been part of transformation since I was 19 years old. Now I was 30 years old. And everything I learned about personal responsibility was making no difference in my relationships with men. And the idea that I was doing something that brought out the worst in men, well,
Yeah, if you have a woman that's going to allow you to actually do that, okay, and not fuck with you, okay, because a black woman will still fuck with you, okay, because why are you out there punching on that bag? Why are you out there in that gym? Why are you lifting weight? Yada 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 yada. So, it still goes on, okay. It's not really quiet quitting. It's called adaptation.
could transform myself. I'd done it again and again. I tried to change men and it didn't go well. It always went badly. So I was really excited because my mind made the leap that if I'm not bringing out the worst in men, can I swear? Is it okay to swear?
God damn it. Go ahead.
Well, if I'm not bringing out the worst in men, then they are in fact assholes.
In other words, basically what I'm doing is just revealing the true person I always thought you were, okay? So basically, they're running this test on you by provoking you, okay, to see if you're a real asshole. And the thing is, they're just a tester. They're just the neutral experimenter, okay, trying to bring out your true self.
And I've been in love with men since I was 10 years old. And if this is who men were, then I was doomed. So the idea that I was bringing out the worst in them was so exciting to me. And after a while, I came to think of it as that my attitude was like being surprised. Like if someone kicks a dog and the dog bites, or kicks a dog and the dog runs away, or kicks a dog and the dog bites and then runs away, and they think, that dog's an asshole. That is how women interact with men. That you should be able to handle and you should put up with anything I throw at you.
Exactly. We hear this all the time, right? I mean, I don't have to tell you guys because this is not a gay site, so I don't have to tell you guys. Women do this all the time. White women do it in a passive aggressive way, but guess what? Black women do it in a very aggressive way. They should be able to slap, hit on you, and punch on you, talk shit about you. And if you respond, okay, in kind, like Klingons, right? What is it? How do Klingons mate, right? Okay, where we sing Klingon men sing love songs, right? While the Klingon female throws heavy things at their heads. That's the test of love. Okay, if you can withstand my abuse, that means you truly love me. That's what they're trying to find out. They're trying to test to see how much you actually really love you. How much you really love them, because they don't feel lovable in and of themselves.
And you should be wonderful to me. And if you flee, then you're chicken. If you fight, then you're violent. If you shut down, then you're emotionally unavailable.
Exactly. Okay. If you react to the bullshit they put out, then they put you in a category. That's what she's doing, right?
And those are all natural reactions to being attacked. And some women know they're attacking men. They attack men on purpose. Most women don't know how much of what's natural in interaction with women is an attack to a man.
Yes.
They don't know that. And
yes, they do, because if you did the same shit to a woman, she would react the same way. You just don't expect us to react that way.
So that's how it all started. I had 3 men who I got along just fine with because all I needed them to do was pay me for my time. I was their cheerleader and their sounding board. And they were the ones that I started this studying men. This question popped into my head in the seminar. What if men are responding to women? And it's gone from there. I have literally been guided by questions popping into my head since February of 1991. And they're brilliant questions. And I thought they came from
well, black women do. White women not necessarily so. Okay. White women not necessarily so, but black women especially. Okay. You have to. I always say, well, the black woman, you got to leave her at least once, right? Because black women don't think you serious. Think that you're actually serious until you're actually walking out the door. Because our relationships are so contentious between each other, right? Are so contentious. Even they feel that you standing up for yourself is kicking her to the curb. And as long as you put up with her shit, no matter what you do, as long as you keep her around, she feels that what she's doing is not that bad until you kick her to the curb. And because every woman I ever had, right? She says that you don't talk to her, right? Okay, that you don't talk to her, you don't explain to her what's wrong, how you feeling, blah blah blah. As soon as you kick her to the curb, everything that you said, she remembers. I said, I thought you weren't listening. I thought you didn't hear me. I thought you didn't know what I wanted. That's why I know it's bullshit. You do know what I want. You do hear me. You just don't care. You didn't care enough until I left. But now you care. To clarify, she kicks me in the nuts, and I let her know which wall I would be ordering sheetrock for tomorrow. Hint, hint. I'm the asshole. I said, what did Scarface says? Say hello to the bad guy. Okay. Very true. Once the divorce lawyer appointment showed up on the family calendar, she changed up really quick. Yeah. She knew that you were serious.
My brain. And a couple of years ago, I realized, no, I am so guided by higher consciousness, and these questions drop in. What if there's a good reason for that? What if everyone only does what's important enough to rise to the top? So we should find out what's important to people, right? What if no one's misbehaving, including you? I mean, all these things have popped into my head, and I've just followed the trail. And honestly, my attitude towards men, I thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything that was worth knowing about these shallow, intellectually questionable, pretty sure they didn't have any souls, for sure knew I couldn't hurt them because they didn't have any feelings anyhow.
Yeah.
So we didn't even qualify as sentient.
In other words, they don't think that men have feelings. They don't think that men hurt. It's because we don't express ourselves the way they do. And they're going to get into that later, how they view men. In fact, they said the same thing that Dr. T said. They view men, okay, especially black men, as defective females.
Then
you were definitely a lesser form of human than women.
Than women, yes. See.
Yeah.
Is that common? I mean, is that really how most women feel about men? Because I do know you're bucking the trend, and it's not popular to defend men nowadays, and it's not popular to hold women accountable for their behavior. And let me just ask you, how do you think we got to this place where we've been for some?
I said this the other day, okay, that women aren't viewed as narcissists because that's just normal female behavior. Narcissism for a man is abnormal, okay, so you notice it. But for a woman, it's just a woman being a woman. If a man acted like a woman, he'd be a narcissist. In fact, that happens all the time, right? A man that really is fastidious about his looks and is always want things focused on him, right? So he's considered a narcissist. But for a woman, that's normal.
Time where everything is the man's fault and nothing's ever the woman's fault. How do we get there to where that's almost the conventional wisdom and accepted wisdom, and to say anything different, which you are, is heresy? I'm sure you've gotten your share of flack.
Well, it began in 1995 when we started the workshop Celebrating Men, Satisfying Women. And we started that workshop so by teaching women what I learned about men, they could teach me how to write the book. Because I knew I needed to write a book that women couldn't escape with their existing point of view.
Yeah.
That if I just told them what I learned about men, they would do what I did in the beginning, which is
most women that have no clue about men, okay? Men have to learn about women to get what they want from women. So men know women a lot better than women know men. Men know women a lot better than women know men. That's like especially for black men, okay? It's like black men are probably the most emotionally intelligent creatures on the planet.
I used it against men. I became more manipulative. I was more effective. I could attack men in a more exacting way. The more I learned.
I said, KMS says, after a 6 month sabbatical from my marriage, my wife remembered all of my complaints with her. It was like magic. Yeah. In other words, she dropped the bullshit, KMS.
About you, the worse I was, and I left out because 6 months into it, I was called on the carpet by the only woman whose life I wish I had. She's the only person I would have listened to. And she walked me through all the ways she had seen me, and she used the word castrate. And in the Queen's Code, we use that word, and it's a harsh word. But I like the word emasculate now, because if you look just technically, you could only castrate a man once.
Oh,
You can emasculate
that's
him.
good news. I hope so.
That's good news.
Yeah.
But you can emasculate him from dawn to dark. And
but why? Why do women want to do that? I mean, again, how did we get to this place?
How did we get to here?
Of women hating on men and wanting to castrate them and wanting to make them bad, and that becoming almost a universal meme? That how do we get there? I mean, I'm actually curious, because I'm a study of human nature as you, and I believe in a muse as well. I'll sit and write, or I'll stand up to speak, and things come out of my mouth that I never even thought of before. And so I know there's something happening. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
but I'm curious.
Keys of the Kingdom and the Queen's Code are channeled. I wrote Keys of the Kingdom. I typed Keys of the Kingdom. I was watching a movie. I typed it in 8 days. There's this movie playing. These characters were doing all these things. The Queen's Code, it took 3 weeks, 96,000 words. It took 3 weeks to type it. The same thing is happening with the King's Code. I'm washing dishes and like watching movie previews, and and
that's going to turn out good. Yeah.
It makes me cry. It makes me laugh. But you've asked a couple different questions, and so I'm going to finish part, because I want to say where here is before I say where I think how we got here.
Okay.
And
men are expected to perform like robots, and if we don't, they get upset and they say we hate them. Okay, so we don't perform our function as expected.
So what I had to distinguish to get to the bottom of women taking men down, which after it was pointed out to me, and I got that as long as I was taking men's power, I would never know my own. I could see it, that every time I took a man's power, I'd have a moment of glee, but that it just reinforced my own sense of weakness, that I didn't have enough power to deal head on.
Exactly. In other words, the only way for me to survive and not be afraid is actually depower the man.
To be honest, let alone be in partnership. Are you kidding me? And so when I laid down my sword, I was stunned, because I set out to learn how I was bringing out the worst in men, and maybe how I could bring out the best in men. And when I just stopped attacking, just stopped, every time I was triggered, I just set down with a grenade that it seemed like a man would, show up late with a wrinkled shirt. He might as well have just given me a pistol. I'd always shot it. And I just set him down. I didn't attack, no matter how I was provoked. And I was stunned at who men became around me. I wasn't doing anything nice.
In other words, they hear the critical mother come out of them, and they take advantage of that.
I just wasn't being mean anymore. And a woman,
like as women don't think that they're mean. Okay, except black women. Black women know they're taught to be mean. Okay, it's because, in fact, I'll play it in a second. Okay, but because I've played this before. Take this down. Let me see if I can find it. I do believe I do have it stored. Okay, that's it. The title of Smell Play, it should be The Queen's. You ain't shit. Okay, The Queen's Code. Well, she's a white woman, so she means so how white queens spell it. BGS, she sound like the Gucci Boot Warrior final boss. Probably so. Said BGS, serious question to the point that I will sponsor a live minus the biological imperative to reproduce. What good are women to men? What they could be. It depends. It depends on where you are in your stage of development. A lot of men don't just use women for children. They use women to carry their emotions. The animal, according to Jung. Okay. In other words, men weren't taught to feel, so what they do is use the woman to feel for him. Anyway, let's see if I can find this real quick. Okay, I'm going to take this down and video file, because this black woman said something very, very, well, not even similar, almost down to the T. almost down to the T. See if I can find it. Desktop stream. Okay. Yeah, I remember her, right? Remember this girl, right?
The best relationships, the relationships that last the longest, is when the female is more dominant than the man. I know y'all gonna get in my comments and be like, what? But it's something about that woman being real dominant and mean
Hear that?
that's gonna have that man acting right. Like,
See that? A woman being dominant and mean is going to have that man acting right, have that man controlled. Okay. Basically, white women do it as a passive aggression, right? You see a lot of women that are passive aggressive, right? By telling, most black men are kind of immune to it, is because our mothers, what they do, what they think they're 100% is like 10% of us. So you come in with a wrinkled shirt and they say something about it, and black men just blow it off. Okay, like white woman, is that all you got?
Like, I have seen it too many times. Like, I can name so many relationships where it's like that. Like, the woman, she don't play no games. She real dominant. And the man is more like passive. Yeah, baby, go along with her. Those are the best relationships. Like, I feel like when you real soft and you a lover girl, it's something about a man that's just gonna dog that. Like,
another dog you, another abuse you. Okay, it's called fear. Okay, and that's going to come up later on in the video, right? But I just want to show you that. Okay, this is a black woman. This is what's being passed down from mother to daughter, from grandmother to mother to daughter. Okay, this kind of sentiment about them being mean, and why they have the stance that they have, because they're afraid if they don't control you, physically, mentally, or even emotionally, right, then you're gonna hurt them.
he gonna take advantage. Like, it's just that dog in him. He gonna just take advantage of it. That's how I feel. I know y'all gonna get in the comments and be like,
I noticed she said that's how I feel. Okay, not what I think. It's how I feel.
no,
right?
no, it's not like that. We want somebody feminine. No, y'all don't.
We want somebody feminine, right? Okay, and she tell you, no, you don't. You don't want anybody feminine. You don't want nobody nice to you. You don't want you want a mean mother that will control you. That's what you want, right?
No, y'all don't. No, y'all don't. Y'all don't. I'm telling you, the best, the ones that has lasted, I'm talking about 10+ years relationships, has been that woman who don't play no games. And I'm not saying, you should just be mean to your man.
Yes, you are saying that, okay? As a means of control.
Or whatever like that. But I'm just saying what I have seen work.
Bullshit.
That's all.
It's a thought, okay? And black men have fallen into it, okay? Have fallen into it is because they, that when a soldier chip, they accept it. They don't like it, but they accept it. Anyway, let's go back to where we were, because this is actually going to come up in this video, okay?
Who was in a landmark seminar with me for in a 10-week seminar. After I gave up castrating men, she called me on the phone and said, I've been watching you and you can't possibly be sleeping with all of them. So what do you know about men that I don't? And that was the beginning. And I called it the transformation of the castration club. And I would find out, there are 3 parts. I'd find out what triggered a woman to emasculate a man. What was her trigger? And now I know almost all the triggers. And then I'd find out how they did it. So how did they attack his power, try to take his power, undermine him, take the wind out of his sails? There's all these expressions for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, most importantly, which may sound weird, but
which is, believe it or not, that is what black mothers do to boys, okay? I can't tell you how many times, say, a little boy's getting bullied in school. I said, okay, sign him up for karate class, sign him up for boxing class, sign him up to actually protect himself, right? And the woman won't do it. Why? Because she's afraid if that boy knows how to protect himself, then she can't physically abuse him anymore. Facts.
Most importantly is how they justify having done that.
Mm-hmm.
What triggers it, how they do it, and how they justify that. And so the Queen's Code.
Yeah, wow, they really think that we're guard dogs. Yes, they do. Our
workshop celebrating men satisfying women, which became the Queen's Code, which became the Understanding Men online course. We don't ask women to stop emasculating men. It's a response. It's a fear and frustration. It's a reaction to fear and frustration, sometimes terror, a lifetime of terror. And this,
And then see, they're afraid. Fear and frustration, right? And a lifetime of terror. They're afraid of you. Okay, how can I get this overpowering human being that I'm afraid of, that what I actually need to get in a position where I'm not afraid of it?
this terrible fear that if men have power, obviously you're going to use it against us.
See,
and
what I just play you, right? Okay, if I'm not dominant and mean, there's something in that man that's just going to dog me, that's going to take advantage of me, right? You just heard a black woman say it. Now she's saying it a different way.
And the hard thing about trauma is it only takes a big brother like I had to use his, even the length of his arm, that he could hold my head and keep me from fighting him, right? It only takes one man to have a trauma cause a trauma at the right time to think that's who all men are.
Why is that a trauma? You can't beat his ass because he's got his hand out, but that's a trauma. I don't like that shit, okay? It's not a trauma. Ain't no trauma. Because you're hurt because you can't hurt somebody else. It's not trauma. They overuse trauma.
Right.
I was 16 years old when I decided men are bigger and stronger and they'll hurt me.
Yeah, see?
And I adopted the best defense is a good offense.
See? That's why I showed you her, okay? A black woman saying it out of her own mouth, okay? A white woman will say it differently. Same shit.
And it was just like, hand me your balls and then we'll talk.
See? Here. And see? Hand me your balls and then we'll talk.
I used everything. I used my sexuality. I used my intellect. I used my sense of humor. I used everything to protect myself from men.
Right.
But I didn't know I was doing it. And so what we ask women to do in our programs is to give up the right, because women believe they have the right, that anything any man has done that's bad gives us the right to emasculate all of you. Anytime a man,
where have we heard that, right? Okay, when men say something about women, it's not all, right? Not all women are like that, right? When a woman says something about a man, it's all of us, right? Oh, just like a Deontay Kyle, right? Okay, saying that how we approach women and shit like that is everybody, right? If one man does it, you know, it's good for everybody, right?
uses power against us, gives us the right to take every man's power. It's hideous. It's hideous. And guys, you can become impervious to it. That's my message. If you look the dragon in the eyes and see how terrible.
I remember there was a you know how girls will try to bite you, okay? And that, you know, I'm a Sigma, man. I don't take that shit, okay? A woman try to bite you, man, because you're wrestling. She's trying to get at you, right? And you're holding her hands. You try to bite you. So you bite me, I'll knock all your teeth out. You never bite nobody else, okay? That gets them to stop. You know, because the way I came up, man, I don't tolerate violence on either side, okay? I'm not gonna hit you. You don't put your hands on me. Now, I tell a woman I'm gonna hurt you.
Terrified she is. You can lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're terrified. And it's how we interpret men's behavior based upon what a woman would have done. And most women don't even know they're doing it.
Yeah.
So
I told you they interpret your actions like you're a woman, okay? I said late for class, but my jaw's on the ground as a man currently going through divorce. There are moments you need to hear true reality. I'm not crazy. I do not have to accept this bullshit. Exactly. This is why they hate this space, okay? It's exactly why they hate this space, okay? And we're not saying, one thing about the red pill that you're not allowed to do in a red pill community is say shit that's not true, okay? You will get called to the carpet instantly for saying stuff that's not true. No matter how likable or dislikable it is, you can't come into the red pill community and say stuff that's not true. So when we say stuff about women, no matter how negative it is, it's got to be true, okay? And we have women like this that admit that it's true, okay? Experts like this that admit that it's true.
we ask women to give up justifying emasculating men. Now, I know men are horrified to find out that women think they do have the right to emasculate men. So what? You're just asking them to get.
In other words, that's a hidden secret, right? Women think they have a right. Well, at least black women come out and say it, right? They don't even hide it. Okay, we have a right to emasculate you. Okay, in fact, that's your duty to be emasculated. And if not, we'll get other emasculated males to come up and beat you down into submission.
Give up their right. Where did they get it in the first place? It's given to each other. And like in the Queen's Code, it's even considered in the culture of women that if a woman is not taking a man down, she's a slacker. She's endangering all of us by letting.
And that's the culture of feminism. That's how come it's out of control. Okay, if you don't disempower men, not empowering females by disempowering men. Okay, they can't overpower you. So how can they get equal to you or over you? Right? They have to disempower you. They have to take you down.
That man run around full of himself.
How do women communicate that to each other? I mean, what's going on when you guys go to the bathroom at dinner and leave us guys at the table? Is that what you're doing? Talking about how to take us down and don't.
Now you see what happened to Barack. They got Barack to go in on us, right? And then they turned on Barack. His own wife turned on him, which is what I think is poetic justice for Barack Obama. Poetic justice, okay? You talk shit about us, blah, blah, blah. Now your wife has spent damn near a whole year talking shit about you.
Don't be slacking.
Oh, we don't know. There's a scene in the Queen's Code where one of the insurance salesmen walks in and he's so stoked because he made this big sale. And one of the processors is like, oh, you're still behind on your quota. And another's like, like there's just this.
Well, they call that, this is what henpecking is about, right? Okay. And they do this, if I find it, Howard Bloom said this, right? In the Lucifer principle, right? That's why that's what henpecking comes from, right? Okay. A new hen will come into a coop, right? And she'll be full of herself, right? And she hasn't been introduced into the proper hierarchy. So what the other hens will do is she peck on her, right? And keep pecking on her until she feels defensive and she feels what do you call it? Not emasculated, but she feels I would say emasculated, right? And they keep pecking on her to what? She submits and she becomes and conforms to the rest of the coop. Okay, that's what women try to do. They do that to each other. Even other women don't like it. I bet that women in third world countries don't have the internal. Yes, they do. They all have it. Okay, but the thing is, the culture controls that behavior. It's internal to females. But the thing is, does the culture control that behavior? Trust and believe. If the women overseas had the opportunity to do it over time, it wouldn't happen immediately. But over time, they get to be the same way. That's just going on the continent right now. Look at China. Okay, China's a very intensely father-led authoritarian society, right? They're having the same problem with their chicks because they let this stuff creep in.
Just flatten him. He's too full of himself. Flatten him. Yeah. And the thing that women don't know, and I'm so sorry, men. One of the things I've had to pay attention to is the difference in where our feelings reside. And we don't have feelings in the same place, which is why it's so tricky. Otherwise, it's so confusing. And I distinguish between emotions, which is energy and motion. They move, they travel. So like fear and chemistry, that's energy, and anger, that's energy and motion. Whereas feelings for women, you could think of it, we have a stack of pancakes in the middle of our chest. And a man said, why do women make their feelings the center of everything? And I was shocked. It's like,
what did I tell you? Their emotional core, right? Okay. Women process everything through their emotional core, and every time, women disagree with it all the time. No, we don't. You don't want to bullshit. Okay. That's like I don't allow men to come up on my panels and talk about their feelings. Okay. Unless it's necessary. I want to know how you feel. I want to know what you think, because you're not a female. Females process things through their emotional core. Okay. Men process things through their logical core. Two different ways of being, right? Okay. You think like a man, or do you act like a woman?
we don't make them the center of everything. They already are the center of everything. We've got sadness, joy, happiness, compassion, love. Like it's all a stack of pancakes right here. And men, you have a whole different setup. You have happiness and power and anger overlaid in your neck, your clavicle, your shoulders, your arms, and out your hands. And when it's an overwhelming feeling, it does go down your arms and out your hands. And it's the source of the high five. Did a high five? You know, a high five, or the hitting the hoop on the basket or whatever, or spiking the ball, that extreme happiness. And it's the source of punching a wall, which of course women don't understand that either. And we illuminate that in the Queen's Code. You know, like he's such a jerk. He punched the wall. And Claudia's like, would you be willing to look at it from another point of view?
And for those who don't know, Claudia is the grandmother teacher in the Queen. For those of you who don't know, it's a novel, right? I would, I'm far enough into it. I would call it a romance novel, even though it's not your typical.
So romantic.
Because
it's so romantic. Yeah.
Well, here's why I call it a romance novel. I read 1 or 2 romance novels a year, just to understand how women think and experience. And because they all follow the same formula. You know, yours following a little different formula, but what I get out of them, I remember I was reading 50 Shades of Grey years ago, and I was also reading The Count of Monte Cristo at the same time. And I was reading one chapter of one, then one chapter of the other. And 50 Shades of Grey is one of the worst written books I've ever read. And Count of Monte Cristo, I just couldn't wait to get back to The Count of Monte Cristo. But what I find in the romance novels, and I'm seeing it in the way you're an amazing.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't know what you disagree with, Micah.
Writer, because I'm watching the women have an interaction, you know, the young women with Claudia, with each other, with their friends, and I'm reading this going, do women really analyze every goddamn interaction going on?
Now, this is a fascinating question, okay? It's a fascinating question. This second, women are always in their head, in their emotions, not necessarily in their head.
Around them, wonder what it's really about, what, you know, look for the pretense of it, look for the pretext of it, look for what's not really being said, analyze it. How does it relate? It always relates to them. Because like when I was reading 50 Shades of Grey, the two things I said, this is a terrible written book, but women bought 50 million copies of it.
If you read a woman's book, the way women process, right, it's all internal, right? Okay. Men focus on the external. That's how come when you try to write a comic book, or you try to write an adventure story from a woman's perspective, it always falls flat because it's too internalized. Okay. You know, all this how I felt and what the other person felt, all that bullshit. We don't want to know all that shit. Just get to the action. What happened? What's the results of it? Okay. In a man's mind, okay, the action will, you know, if there's enough action, the results will tell you exactly what happened. Okay. With women, it's not why did it happen? What series of events or what series of actions caused the particular actions? Well, what's the impetus? How did the person feel? You know, what was their motives? Okay, and they're guessing because hell time a lot of shit they do, they don't even know their motives.
But I thought women could relate to it because the woman constantly questioned, why could this amazing man want me? I mean, it was just constant on her head all the time. How could he possibly want me? And the other one was, I love everything he does to me. How can I change him? And that was just constant through the book.
In other words, why does he want me? I feel insecure, and I'm afraid that he'll leave, or I won't get access to him. And how can I change him so that he will be tied to me? He'll be safe to be around. He'll be safe to do exactly what I want, and he won't leave. Okay, because part of women think you leaving them is violence. They really do. And I told just about every woman I've been with, they'd rather me beat their ass than leave them. Just about everyone, they'd rather me pop them upside the head and stay rather than leave them. Leaving a woman, especially a black woman, is probably the worst thing that you can do to her. A black woman would rather you get physical with her, fight her, you go to jail, you come back and stay with her. She'd rather that. There's usually a lot of physical and mental strife and pain that results in heroism that most females cannot emotionally tolerate. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when
like with Sinners, that's how I knew Sinners was written. The Sinners was not really an action movie. Basically, basically was The Color Purple with vampires. Okay, because it mostly focused on the internal feelings of the people, and not the surrounding action that was going on. The action was superfluous to the story. Okay, most of that stuff, most of it was just a romance story between three couples wrapped around what? A horror story.
when I read romance novels, I guess the thing I would take away is the glimpse inside of women's head is that they're just analyzing everything all the time. And that must be a burden. That must be painful and overwhelming. So even so far, even just reading the Queen's Code, I'm just, because you write it well, every interaction one woman has with the other woman, with another woman, they analyze every single aspect of that. So they're doing that to us guys as well, right? They're analyzing everything. What does that really mean? What did he mean by that? Oh, he did something nice. There must be some ulterior motive. That
they give you that look. They give you that look. And then what a lot of times what a woman will do is she'll think something or feel something, right? And she'll assign a thought or meaning to it, right? And she'll respond to it. You have no idea that she did it. Why is she acting that way? Why is she doing that? Why is she responding that way? And you're lost. Like, what the fuck's wrong with her, right? I didn't do anything to her. Nothing was really said. But the thing is, you did something, and she read into it something that was not there. They do it. It's like talking to a woman on a panel, right? Okay, they're always reading shit into it. Okay, can you not just answer the fucking question the way I gave it to you? They can't do it because they're not they're interpreting what your words and what you said through their feelings, through that stack of pancakes that she says. Okay, they're not really listening to you. They're reinterpreting your words. Okay, when he says X, does he mean B or A?
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many nice things I've done for women, and they got mad at me and accused me of something and told me that I was really just doing it because X, Y, and Z. And I'm going, I just fucking wanted to do something nice for you because that's how I am. And then I get punished for doing something nice because of their analysis of it. That goes on all the time in their heads, right? Is that what? Am I close based on what I get out of your book and the romance novels?
You're close, and it can be simple. Okay.
Help me.
And I think like an engineer, so I'm always breaking things down to the moving parts and then figuring out a better way to put it together. So,
you're talking to about 35 plus engineering types. So
they're trying to analyze. Since the information is filtered through their feelings, they're trying to analyze complex emotions. Okay. That don't necessarily have anything to do with actual perceived reality. Okay. In other words, they don't believe what they see in their eyes. Okay. They're looking to actually line their feelings up with what they see. And if they don't line up, then they're looking for something else. There has to be an ulterior motive. You're lying to me or you're going to hurt me. Okay. You're smiling to me. You're smiling at me. You're doing something nice because you're going to stab me in the back later. Or you're doing this purposely to me or making me happy because you're cheating on me. And a lot of women think that the guys that run around and are loose and cheating on them are honest. Okay, because now I can see it. How I feel about him and what he does in the background has to line up. The Seth, I'm not gonna say. Sahalian trophy surfer. I was married in Japan, lived there 16 years. I speak it fluently. No, they don't. Not even like this. No, not swear because the culture will not allow it.
This will work well for us.
Awesome. So first, about the Queen's Code. Thank you for acknowledging the quality of the writing. I didn't write it. I typed it. I watch a movie. I hear their thoughts, and I think we're all in our own blind spot. And so that's why there's 8 different points of view at the beginning of each section. That the word in caps, the name in caps, is whose point of view you're looking from now, and you can see how much like
is because shame controls women more than it controls men. So shame-based cultures have a much stricter control over women, right? Okay, It's not because shame only controls a man so much. But the thing is, shame controls women way more than it does men. So if you take shame, which the feminist movement took shame out of the culture, right? Now you have unbridled women, uncontrolled women.
The women do not know how they occur to the men at all. And
it's force that controls men. The fear of force controls men. Shame does not. Shame controls women.
And the thing that happens, this is the crux of it. Oh boy, it goes all the way back to all these roots. But
it's being stoic and cutting off attention. It's like fighting. Okay, they can deal with that. Okay, what they can't deal with is you leaving. You physically removing yourself from their presence. They can't deal with that because in their mind, if they leave, it's a success. If you leave, it's a failure.
Point is that most women, when they look at a man, they see a kind of woman.
Mm-hmm. A hairy woman, as you say.
A hairy, misbehaving woman who knows the right thing to do and purposely is doing something else.
Yeah. In other words, so you henpeck that hen to get back in order. That's where the henpecking comes in, right?
So, and because of that stack of feelings here, right? Like you would put up the quote about until we notice our thoughts, they think us. Well, for women, until we gain an awareness and discernment of our feelings, that's what we act upon.
They feel you.
They feel you.
They feel you. Exactly. That's like when you talk to a woman, you got to deal with their feelings first, okay? And then lead them to a logical conclusion. That's how come they can't stand me, because I'm always going to ask why. Why always goes back to logic.
What we project onto men.
There you go. What we project onto men, like sign language, is their projection.
That your actions are compelled by your feelings. And if I can get you to feel the right way about me, then you'll act the right way towards me.
See, if I can get you to feel the right way about me, you'll act the right way towards me, okay?
Me, and the right way is what a woman would have done.
Exactly.
An idealized woman.
Yeah, as you say, a perfect woman.
A perfect
woman. So the standard that you are being judged and condemned by is what a perfect woman would have done in that situation.
If you really love me, you'd make $100,000 and give me all of it.
And if you didn't do that, you must not love me enough, you must not care about me enough, and you must not respect me enough.
And that's why the date, how much money you spend on a date, is a projection of her perceived value to value to you. Okay. In other words, if you're a regular guy and you're not a concubine to be used, okay, her perceived value is what matter. Okay. If I'm getting involved with this guy, how much money is he willing to spend on me? Time, money, effort is he willing to spend on me, right? That's my perceived value. And that's what she projects upon you. If you love me enough, you value me enough, you do X, Y, and Z.
And as Claudia points out in the Queen's Code, we're not done there. We're like, why don't you love me enough to act right? Why don't you care about me enough to act right? Why don't you respect me enough to act right?
You hear feminists say that all the time, right? You constantly hear it with feminism, okay? How you approach them, what you say to them, how much money you're going to spend on them, how you're going to date them, what you should look like, blah, 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 right? And if you don't, that means you don't care.
And then it comes back to what's wrong with me.
Yeah,
what am I too much of? What am I not enough of?
Yep.
And the women are resisting this. Karen and Kimberly are resisting this like crazy, especially Karen. And then she shows them, so how do we know what's wrong with us? We compare ourselves to an idealized woman.
Exactly. And they're short. The thing is, if I can get him to praise me enough, value me enough, then I can become, in my eyes, like that idealized woman. Okay.
Right.
We compare you and we compare us. We compare children. We compare parents. Everything is compared to these ideals. And we're just sure if I could change myself enough so you would love, care, or respect me enough, then you would take out the trash. I mean, it really comes down to.
Yeah, I've been a marriage therapist for over 40 years. So I've listened to a lot of stories. And, even like, I'd be in a room with a couple and, the woman would make a statement that apparently the guy did not agree with the factuality of it. And one thing I try to teach men, women make an emotional statement. Guy hears it as a factual statement. Guy argues the facts. Woman feels unheard and unloved.
Who else told you that? Okay. Who else told you that shit? Who else told you that shit? Okay.
And guys will say, how do you know if it's an emotional statement? I'll go, because it's going to sound batshit crazy to you and you're going to want to argue it.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's an emotional statement, not
Yes.
a factual one. But I've had, women would say, if the guy disagreed with the woman's version of something in the relationship, and she would go, I feel completely invalidated and unheard.
Yeah, is that when they say that shit, completely invalidated and unheard, okay? It's because I didn't agree with you. Because if you could only make you feel what I feel and see what I see, you would agree with me. And you might not be anything because there's always, because the people around me I'm involved with, they don't feel that way. In other words, my female circle doesn't agree with you. So what you think, what you feel is invalidated because folks I'm around, which is a female hierarchy group, right? Okay, they don't agree.
And I go, you're talking to two guys, your husband and me. You're going to have to tell us, what does that mean to you when you say you feel unvalidated and unheard just because he doesn't agree with your view of the world? And that's always amazing to me that my second wife, if I disagreed with her opinion on anything, whether or not a song was good, a movie was good, she thought I was either stupid or lying because how could I not agree 100%
Yeah, it sounds like my baby mama. That's why we didn't get married.
With her? I either must be stupid for not agreeing with her, or I must be lying because there's no other explanation of why we might have,
or you might just be strange and not like everybody else.
Different opinions, and I've seen so many of those patterns, and I like how clearly you pointed out that the woman, while it looks like she's measuring us guys and finding fault, she's really beneath all that measuring herself and finding fault. And she feels like if I was just lovable enough, as you say, he'd take out the garbage. If I was just lovable enough, he would agree with my version of the story. If I would just, lovable enough, fill in the blank. And I think that's something that we men do need to know and understand, because I've been sharing something with these guys. I'm in my third marriage, and I love my wife dearly. And she's a strong woman. She's had more trauma than any woman should ever go through. Born in poverty, 8 out of 10 kids in Guadalajara, Mexico, with an alcoholic father who never supported the family, just all kinds of trauma. And she's the most generous, open-hearted, loving woman. And like all women, something goes on in her head, something goes on in her sack of pancakes. She'll withdraw, or she'll get that look in her face, or she'll get quiet, or, she'll get rigid and doesn't respond to my touch. And used to be, I would project my story on that. I haven't done anything wrong. Why is she mad at me? And I've been switching that for a while now. And now whenever I sense my wife is not happy, not open, not whatever, instead of trying to guess what it is, I just assume my woman's either not feeling sufficiently loved by her man, my woman's not feeling sufficiently connected to her man, or my woman's not feeling sufficiently safe or secure with her man. And is there anything I can do about any of those three things? And then usually it's just me just showing up, getting present, bringing her into the now, being a little bit physical in a very loving, conscious way. But it's helpful to know, for us men to know what's going on in the woman's head, or her
feelings, not her head, and her feelings. Okay.
Feelings, when we think she's just punishing us, she's just lashing out at us, she's just withdrawing us, she's trying to hurt us. And it's good to know that they're hurting, and because they're feeling less than lovable. And as you say, I guess in the feminine mind, if they're not perfect, they're not lovable.
If they don't hold up to the idealized woman, then, and that's the thing. Okay, in every culture, there's an idealized woman. Okay, so they're not going to act the same. That's why the culture of the woman is very important. Okay, a white woman doesn't act like a black woman. It's because their idealized woman image is not the same. Okay, a white woman's going to be passive aggressive, right? A black one's going to be aggressive. Okay, because her idealized woman is that mean boss chick that don't play no games and has her man acting right. Black women, if I am clean enough, he would do what I say. In a sense, yes. Okay, in a sense, if you're not operating the way that she thinks that you should operate, you're defective and she's a failure because she can't make you do it. Much like how we treat children. Okay. Because if a kid is not acting in a proper manner, okay, rightfully so, that's a reflection on the adult. Women feel the same way because they're built to do what? Raise children. They're not built to actually go out there and deal with the wilderness and conquer the environment, right? They're not there. They're there to raise children. So they're built to do that. And sometimes they treat you like that. And you have to have a way to actually bring her out of that. Because most of my women are afraid to talk to me, okay? Because they say, because I'm going to ask why. And they can't use their feelings. Because if we talk long enough, I'm going to pull you away from your feelings and then point you to logic, okay? Okay, there's a reason that you felt that way. What is it? What's going on with you? Then they have to sit and examine their feelings, which is not something they really like to do, believe it or not. They like to get it out and project their feelings on you. Sometimes you got to let them. That's why I said that emotional labor, that downloading that your woman has to do, that's a necessary function that you have to tolerate. Anyway, she can always go back to her last boyfriend. Passport bros winning. But she can't go back to her last boyfriend because the same shit's gonna happen. Cling on, not clean. Cling on, okay? Not clean. You know what a Klingon is, right? Cling on. I'm assuming that you know what I mean, unless you want me to get really proper. Now, I can pronounce all my vowels if I need to. Do I need to slow down and pronounce all my vowels for you so you can keep up? Is that necessary? What color crayon would you like me to use, sir? If you've been around me, I've been talking about black women being Klingons, okay? Because if you hear Star Trek pronounce it, they pronounce it the exact same way I pronounce it, okay? I've been saying black women have been Klingons for the last 30 some odd years. It's not new to me. If you've been around me forever, you know exactly what I mean. Never watch, you're missing out, okay? Where you been? Are you from this country, sir? Because a lot of your views, man, are kind of like wonky. So I have no idea what community you come from because you're not mainstream. So I have no idea what you're on. I was correcting a grammatical error. What's a grammatical error, sir? If I want to be, when I write, I use standard grammar. Trust and believe. You do not want me and Mookie to start using standard grammar on you. You know, I don't need to be corrected. Because if I come up and start questioning you about certain things, esoterically, you won't keep up. I know that. Stay in a civilian's place. Yeah, a grammar police. Sound like a female. Yeah, anyhow. Well, he never watched it, okay? So in other words, if you never watched it, okay, ask a question, okay? If you never watch it, okay? A real pedestrian. Anyhow, y'all, let me get out of here, man, before the evil twin shows up. New Star Trek. Man, I hope it's better than the ones they've been putting out, man, because they haven't put out a good Star Trek in a lot of years, okay? It's safe. Uh, uh, I'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Dennis actually talked about it. Okay, because this is something that my mentor has talked about. A lot of people have talked about. What is, I forget their names. Two black psychologists, male husband and wife, talked about the same shit, right? Okay, out of the slave experience, right? Because black men were so oppressed and their lives were so at risk. Okay, the black woman had to actually intercede for her black men or black husband and her black sons. Okay, she had to be, because they wouldn't listen to the black boys or the black men, right? Okay, so the only person that could actually appeal to the white man was the black woman, right? So their role of protector and tamping down the boys, and so they wouldn't get attacked by white men, has been basically solidified in our culture. So the thing is, when it came time to give it up, like in the 1960s, they couldn't give it up, and they still do it. They still do it. Like I said, my cousin had her grand niece and nephew here maybe like a week ago, right? Okay, and their generation, I think, are they generation alpha or beta? They're still they're generation alpha. Okay, I think, because they're not babies. The babies, I think, less than 2 are generation beta, but they're still generation alpha, and you can still see how they're treated and what they're thinking, how they still treat the children. Okay, as they come up, especially the boys. It has not changed. It has not changed in 200 years. I can say that. All right. Anyhow, let me get out of here. I will see you guys there, but I'll think about doing that by Dennis, because Dennis actually explained it. Okay, it started out as a protection measure for black men against white racism, right? And it morphed into a control mechanism because they didn't want to give up their spot, and because they're afraid of us. Okay, they are. What if these big, robust, masculine Negroes get out of control? And what's going to happen to me? He's going to dog me. He's going to hurt me, and he's going to do harm to me. And that's what even though black women, abuse their boys and their men more than any other culture. Okay, they really do. It's been proven. The subculture of violence that they used that Philadelphia study back in 1963. Okay, said the exact same thing. Right, black women commit more violence against their men and their boys than any other culture. Okay, Snowman's checked me out. Is doing an emergency stream. Help my wife. Please stop by. Help if you can. All right. There's the link for Snowman. All right, good folks. Let's get out of here. Anybody else need to drop a link before I bounce? Okay. Last chance. Okay. If not, we out of here. Going once, going twice, gone.
What can I say? Mamba out.
Muzyka Denis 7.